welcome or welcome back to my channel. I don't know why I always throw my hands up when I say that, but hi, welcome. My name's Ariel and I make videos about books. So today we have the tried and true classic booktube video that I do every month of my October wrap up. I mean, every month it's a different month wrap up, but you get it this month. It's the October wrap up. Let's talk about some fall books that I read. This month was a pretty good month in general for me, and also for reading. I read like a lot of books, so it's a fun time. It's good. So I'm gonna just go in the order that I read these. So first I read an audiobook called The Casanova, which is in the Miles High Club series. And this is a series that I've been reading for the past couple of months. It's on Kindle Unlimited and the audiobook is on Kindle Unlimited, which is great. So it's been my little car read, and I don't know, these books just like, they're very steamy, forewarning, and they're just like, I don't know, they're good. I love them. I'm like blushing throughout reading them. And yeah, if you want a like very steamy book that's also like, it's kind of got a little bit of character development, but like that's very minor to the purpose of the book, I guess, then this is for you. But yeah, the whole series follows these brothers who are like billionaires that own this media company, and it follows each of their love lives. The first one was my least favorite. The first one, like, not very good. This is probably my second favorite. It did have a like crazy plot twist that I was not expecting, and I was like, I've never, I guess, had that big of a plot twist in a romance book, so I wasn't ready for it, and it was so good. So yeah, that's fun. But yeah, the second one in the series is definitely my favorite, but this one comes in number 2. Then we're on to the more physical copy books. I think I only read like one more digital copy, which we'll get to. But first physical copy is The Most Likely Club. And this book I found because it was a book of the month pick, but I don't know why, but I liked it in the paperback better than like getting it in a hardcover, which I don't know why. I'm a big hardcover person, but for some reason this book, I was like, it's giving, I think it's the little characters. It's not a romance book, but like it looks like how a romance book cover would look, and all my romance books are paperback. I can't explain, but it's just a contemporary novel about these friends from high school that are now attending their like 20 or 30, I think 20th reunion or 15th, something like that. They're like 40 or almost 40, so that's probably like 20th, I don't know. And they're attending their reunion, so they're thinking back on their life, and they're like, wow, we did not live up to our superlatives, we did not live up to our dreams, let's change that. So they do it. And this was a cute little wholesome read. It had a lot of like references to 90s and 80s things that I think would be much more enjoyable for someone who is the age of these characters, but I still understood most of it and enjoyed it. It's very like nostalgic, even though not nostalgic for me because I was not even in the womb at that time. But yeah, very cute on like female friendships, and Kind of, I mean, it's very like, it would definitely be like a 3.5 for me. Like nothing wrong, but nothing where I'm like, this book really spoke to me and I loved it and I can't stop thinking about it. It's a very middle of the road, but I think it was cute. And if you grew up in the 80s or 90s, this is the one for you. And I really liked her writing, obviously. I don't know if you can see that, but I tabbed the heck out of it. I think so much that I'm in a tabbing slump, a like note-taking slump. Like I'm not annotating, that's the word. I'm not annotating like any of my books now because I think I overdid it with this and I was like, I gotta put those down. Then I have 14 Ways to Die. And this one I picked up so randomly. I was still annotating, I guess. After this one, I was in like a mini reading slump just because, you know, it was just middle of the road. That's usually when I get into a reading slump. And so I needed to get out of that. And I was thinking, I was like looking back at my like TBR on like Amazon, my like wish list, you know, where I keep my books that I want to buy. And I was looking and I saw this and I remembered someone saying that it had really short chapters, which it does. These chapters are like 2-3 pages long and there's like 150 of them. And so I was like, that sounds like it'll get me out of the reading slump. Like I'll finish a chapter and then be like, oh, I can read one more. Oh, I can read one more. And it's probably much less than it is because every 2 pages is like that, you know, like it's like the end of the chapter and then the beginning of the chapter. So a lot of white space. So it's a fairly short book and it definitely did the trick. It got me out of my reading slump. I read this in like 2 days and it was so good. It is very reminiscent of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder because it's a YA thriller that involves like a girl kind of doing the detective work. And she basically enters this like contest to see who the Magpie Man killer who killed her mom and a series of other women, who that is. And it's like this contest where she's like live streamed, like the person live streams her every day. And yeah, the twist I did not expect, but I also don't think you're really supposed to expect it. And I don't know how I feel about it. I didn't love it, but the book overall I loved, and it was such a good experience, and it definitely got me out of my reading slump. Next, I finished the Off-Campus series, at least the like standalone novels. This is The Goal. It is the last of the 4 books. Yes, 4 books chronicling the dating lives of these hockey players. You guys all know about this series. You have to, I'm guessing. So now the only book left in the series is The Legacy, which is kind of telling, it's like tiny novellas-ish, I think, of each of their lives out of college. So I'm gonna read that in November, but I had been reading like one of these a month, and this was my favorite, which is insane. No one talks about this one. I have not heard a single person even mention this one. It's always, oh, the deal or the score, and then it's always the second one, the mistake sucks, which actually I didn't mind that one either. And I thought the score was the worst for me, but my unpopular opinions aside, I really liked this, and I knew I would because the guy in this, John Tucker, must die. You guys seen that movie? I kept on thinking of him, but I also just love him. He's nothing like John Tucker Must Die. He is so good. He's such a sweet man, and I knew I'd love his little story, and I did, and I loved the girl. Then I have a audiobook I listened to. I decided this October that I needed to read some classics, and I've been very much enjoying reading classics as audiobooks because it is a lot easier, and I can like motivate myself to listen to an audiobook of the classic more than I can with picking it up. Because if I want to pick up a book, I want to pick up one of my fun little contemporary books. I don't want to pick up a classic. So the audiobook book works wonders. So I picked up Dracula. So I have a like vlog kind of thing coming out soon of the spooky classic books that I read this month. So that will be coming out. So like, I don't know, I don't want to say too much about this, but I kind of liked Dracula. It kind of went off. Is it my favorite classic? No, not by far. But it was good. It was entertaining, surprisingly. It was very, I don't know, it was interesting, like the different perspectives it was told from. Good little classic Halloween book. Would recommend that you read that. Then I listened to a short little audiobook because I saw it was on Audible for free, or it was on Kindle Unlimited. I don't know, but it was the audiobook of Evidence of the Affair, which is a Taylor Jenkins Reid novella, and it's tiny. It's so small. The audiobook took like less than an hour, I think, and I loved it. 5-star, easy. I really loved Daisy Jones and the Six, but her other two books like Seven Husbands and Malibu Rising I did not love, so I didn't know how I would feel about this, but I wanted a quick little snappy audiobook while I clean. This girl finds out that her husband has been cheating on her, and she finds out with who, and she sends a message to the husband of that girl and is like, hey, our spouses are cheating on us. Thought you should know. And then they spark up a little like friendship, and they're sending letters back, and it's cute or whatever. And this is just like a wholesome, and which you would not expect from that little synopsis, but it did turn out to be wholesome and cute and like really made you think. And yeah, it was a very good book. And the whole time I feel like you're kind of like, I don't want to say more actually because it's very short, but yeah, I would recommend it. I think it's only available as like an ebook because I went to go buy the physical copy and I couldn't find it. So if you know where the physical copy is, let me know, because if I like an audiobook or an ebook a lot, then I will buy the physical copy, which brings us to our next book. Next two books, we'll talk about them both. Camp Slaughter and Halloween Slaughter by Sergio Gomez. These are so good, but so scary. Like I have a video reading Camp Slaughter, so you can see more of my scaredness, but I literally could not sleep at night after reading this, and I was in the house alone, and so I was so freaked out. Like I mentally went out of my room, was prepared to confront death and just let it take over. I had to prepare myself to die because I genuinely thought there was a cannibal outside of my door ready to eat me. And I just in that moment was like, There's nothing you can do. He's unstoppable. And he is. This man kept going and going throughout both of these books. Unhinged cannibal. He was so spooky. The imagery that this man uses to describe him is frightening. So terrifying, but so good. I had never read a slasher. If you can't tell by my excitement and just perplexedness of the spookiness of this book, but I had never, I guess, read a like real horror book. I was reading and I was like, why are you continuing to read this description? You're so freaked out by it. And my brain was like, I can't stop. I can't stop. It's so addictive. Reading about how this cannibal is eating people. Insanely good. Like 5-star reads, which is so weird. These are like very out of my comfort zone, but I'm so glad that I read them. Also, I read them on Kindle Unlimited because they're on there, so would recommend, but then I bought the physical copies because I loved them. If I like really love a book, if it's like a 4-star or 5-star, then I'll buy it after I read it as an ebook. And I'm like, this is gonna be so cute next year just to like display these on the bookshelf during Halloween time. Next, I read the last one that's been written of the Dark Olympus series, Wicked Beauty. It's not the last in the entire series, but for now, it is the last. And it slapped. So good. This was definitely my favorite of the 3. The spicy scenes. Spicy. The character development developed. The plot enticing. And that's all. Also, it involves a little like challenge, a little like series of challenges, if you will, to get to one main prize. And I don't know why, but when a book has a challenge kind of plot to it, maybe it's my like middle school upbringing of dystopian books like The Hunger Games, but whatever it is, I'm so entranced. If you say that there's a challenge, I'm ready. I'm ready to read it. I want to know what the next challenge is. I want to see them do it, and I want to see who wins. So that very much kept me engaged in it, where the other 2 books in the series didn't have that aspect. But yeah, I have a whole video coming out also on these, so you'll hear more, I guess, in there. Next, I also have a video coming out about this. I was just really in a filming mood this month, I guess. But The Inheritance Games. This is another book that I went to Barnes & Noble because I had this sudden just urge to read this series, and I went and I got the box set. You probably know what this series is. It's about this girl who gets this inheritance from this mystery man, and he disowns his family and gives her all of his money, and they're like, why'd he do that? And they have to figure out why. So yeah, it was very good. I liked it. It is a young adult book, so the fact that I liked it was cool, because sometimes I don't like young adult books very much. And yeah, I have a whole other video coming out about this, so I'm not going to talk about it right now, but would highly recommend. I am going to read the next book in it next month and hopefully finish it next month, because it's a trilogy, so I think I can. Next, we have the other audiobook classic that I listened to, which was Frankenstein. I didn't like this. I didn't like it. I recognize that Miss Mary Shelley was like 19 when she wrote this. So slay. Love that for her. We love a prodigy. And for 19, she is a prodigy. This, I could not have come up with this as a 19-year-old. It has a lot of like deep thinking concepts and would be a really great book to discuss in an academic like atmosphere. So I get why it's assigned reading for a lot of people. It was not for me. And yeah, but it was so boring. I don't know what about it, but between Frankenstein time, which I think it was released like early 1800s, and Dracula time, which was released like I think mid to late 1800s, something about English writing changed because I was so much more engrossed by Dracula. Frankenstein, I was like, come on, let's get to some sort of action, and it never came. But I appreciate it for what it was. Glad that I read it. Glad I can say, oh, Frankenstein? I think you mean Frankenstein's monster. Glad I can say that now and understand what it means. So this is another kind of classic. I included it in the classics video, so I'm gonna say it's a classic, and that is Agatha Christie's Halloween Party. I had never read an Agatha Christie novel, and now I want to read them all. It was interesting. I don't think I've ever read a true mystery, like crime detective novel, because there's no like thriller aspects. Like the crime happened and then it's just figuring out that crime. It's not like, how do we protect ourselves from this crazed killer? You know, like that doesn't really happen. It's just, who is this crazed killer? And like talking to people to find that out, which was interesting, but I enjoyed it. I could not predict a thing, could not see where it was going, which I'm like, ugh, I kind of like to see where it's going, but maybe as I read more mysteries, I'll develop an eye for it. Fun. I think probably her other ones are better than this because I've never heard this one talked about, but it was just so aptly named that I had to. Last but not least is Accidentally Amy. This is a very short book. I'm not done with it, as you can tell, but I only have 100 pages left, so I definitely will finish it tonight. So I'm counting it for my October TBR because I'm going to finish it. And I'm coming out with a different video that includes this, so you can watch that to see my full thoughts on it. But so far, I love her writing. I love her style of writing. I had never read anything by her, despite owning Better Than the Movies. And she is just so funny. The banter between these two was great. And yeah, the cover's very fall. So, big fan of that. Look out for my romance reading video to see my final thoughts. Those were all of my books. I read a lot. Like, are you kidding? Oh, thank you for tuning in. Tuning in like you're listening to me on the radio. Thank you for that. And let me know if you've read any of these books, if you like any of them, if you want to read them, and all that stuff. And I will see you again. Thank you. Thank you. Why do I keep saying thank you? Thank you for watching. Bye.